Okay, so I'm just going to quickly log into my demo account. Okay, and so as I was mentioning, this is really the heart of Freeagent. It shows you absolutely everything that's happening within your Freeagent account. At the top here, we've got quite a few tabs. I'm going to go through the ones that I think are relevant to yourselves, because I understand that we have a mixture of existing Freeagent clients as well as newer Freeagent clients as well. At the top here, we have the cash flow timeline. This really shows you the amount of money that's coming in and going out of your business. Now, if you move your cursor to different bars here, it'll show you the exact amounts over different periods. Okay. At the bottom here, we have the invoice timeline. Again, it shows you the invoices that you have created or raised, and how much has been paid or hasn't been paid in Freeagent. The great thing about our software is, we're big on intelligent simplicity. So stuff like, money that's overdue, or money that's due to be paid, or money that has been paid is highlighted by a traffic light system. So as you can see here, amounts that are overdue are red, amounts that are due are yellow, and amounts that have been paid are green. Okay. The next widget is the business banking timeline. Now, this is fantastic because it'll show you the exact amounts in your business banking accounts at different points. Now, again, if you move your cursor on this different little dots here, it'll show you exactly how much you have in your business banking account. Okay. Now, this can actually be adjusted to show daily as well as weekly balances. At the moment, we can see that it's showing us monthly balances. Okay. The widget that's directly below that is one that I'm always excited to demo. The first thing here is our mini P&L. Again, it gives you a snapshot overview of what's happening when it comes to money in your account. You can see here that we've got income. It shows the money that's incoming and expenses that are due, and obviously it enables you to have a more proactive way of doing your business finances. Okay, and the tab that's just next to that is our tax timeline tab. Now, this is actually exclusive to Freeagent. From what I know, no other accounting software solution has this, but really it shows you all the tax liabilities that are due, when they're due, and how much they're going to be for. Again, it's all to encourage you to have a more proactive way of dealing with your business finances. The last widget here is expenses. So it'll show you all the expenses that you have incurred at different points. Again, just like many of the things in Freeagent, will show you what that expense is, how much it was, and when it's due to be paid. Again, we also have the same thing with bills here, bills that are due, or bills that have been paid, or bills that are pending. So again, it shows you what it is, when it's due, and how much that bill is going to be for. Okay. Now, if we go back to these tabs here, we've got different things happening here. Really, the thing with Freeagent is anytime that you are prompted, or anytime that you need to action something, it'll give you a green button, normally on the right-hand side, asking you to actually action that thing. So, for example, if I went to contacts, and if I wanted to create a contact, now really in Freeagent, a contact can be maybe a supplier or a client, or somebody that you have raised an invoice for. Now you can manually create a contact in Freeagent, or you can actually import contacts as well as export contacts. Also, anytime you raise an expense or you create an invoice, that contact that you've done that for will automatically be pulled into this section of the software, and that'll be put down as a contact in your account. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly create a random contact here, just to show you how quickly that is to do. And I'm going to set myself up as a contact. Now, I'm happy with that. Now, if this is the only contact that I have to create on the day, then I'm going to go create new contact and leave it as is. However, if I have quite a few of these contacts to create on the day, then I can create and add another, which will take me to the create contact stage. But this is the only contact that I want to create for now. So if I go back to my contacts, you'll find that my Ruth Mutasa has been created here. Okay, now if I actually wanted to associate a specific project that I'm working on with this contact, then I could quickly do that. It's actually a shortcut to do that. So I can just go new project and move forward in that direction. This contact is also editable, so you can actually delete it as well from your contacts tab. Okay. Now, what I'm going to quickly show now is how you will create an invoice in Freeagent. I'm sure many of you have invoices that you create as you do your businesses on a daily. Now, the fantastic thing as well about Freeagent is we do have a mobile app which enables you to do stuff like creating invoices and creating expenses and creating bills on the go. So you don't actually have to wait till you're in front of a laptop or an iPad to actually do this. You can do this via your mobile app. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly create an invoice. Again, as I mentioned, anything that you need to add in Freeagent, you're normally prompted to do that by clicking this green button. So I'm going to add new invoice. But before I actually do that, as you can see, there's quite a few invoices that have been created in this account. And really, this shows you the invoices, what the invoice was for, when it was created, its due date, and the actual value of the invoice. I'm going to go ahead and actually add that invoice here. Now, we've created our contact earlier, and it's coming up as Freeagent, but actually it was supposed to be Ruth Matassa. I think I made a mistake there. But I'm just going to quickly associate this contact, this invoice with the contact that I created earlier. Alternatively, I could just add a new contact here. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, you can associate a contact with a specific project, and you can also do that with an invoice as well. So you can associate an invoice with the project that you might be working on. Invoice reference numbers are automatically generated by the software, but again, this is something that is editable. It's the same with the invoice date as well as the payment terms, but I'm quite happy with my information here, so I'm going to leave it as is. I also have an option here to select what currency I want this invoice to be in, just in case you want to raise it in a different currency. As you can see, we've got quite a few. But I'm going to keep it at pound sterling for the purpose of this demo. Okay. I can also add additional text here. So I've gone ahead and typed, "Thank you for your custom." I'm going to leave it as is. I'm happy with that. Again, it does give you more options here, such as, invoice discount, your client's contact name, etc., etc. So it's very detailed. It can be as detailed as you need it to be. I'm going to go ahead and create my new invoice here. Now, as you can see, this is my invoice created. However, the values here that are being shown are 0, 0. Okay, so that tells me that I need to go ahead and add more information. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and select this little green button that says Add Invoice Item. And I'm actually going to say, you know what, I'm happy with 1 hour actually, and I'm going to say demo. Okay, and I'm going to say for that hour, I was told I was going to earn £50. Now it's pulling CIS here. That is something that we do support, but I'm going to change it to sales, and it also gives you an option. Obviously, it'll pull the VAT percentage that you need here. If you've set yourself as someone that gets billed at 20% VAT, then that's something that the software will automatically pull. But it does give you an option to change that up. I'm going to leave it at 20%. If this is the only invoice that I'm creating for the day, again, I'm going to go create and finish. However, if there are quite a few of these that I need to create, I'm going to create and add another. But in this case, I'm going to create and finish. As you can see, that's my information pulled through. Again, if for instance I've noticed that I have made a mistake that I need to change or that I need to edit, it does give me an option here to edit my information. Okay, so it's a nice shortcut here, but I'm quite happy with the data that I put in, so I'm going to leave it as is. Okay. Now, this invoice can be saved as a PDF. You can send it by email. It is editable. You can delete it. Also, if you have quite a, if you're having to send the same invoice, pretty much the same invoice to a contact, then you can set up a recurring invoice. Okay. It'll also give me an option here to choose a certain theme. So for example, if I'm not happy with this, I can change it up to whatever I want. Freeagent will give you about 8 templates to choose from. But obviously, if you feel like you need or if you work with your own specific invoice template, then you can, I'm sure you can edit that. Carissa can go into that in a little bit more detail. But yes, that is something that is available for you to do if you want to use your own specific invoice template. Okay. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to also show you how to create an expense in Freeagent. Okay, so expense will be the 5th option from our overview page. I'm going to select the first option here. Again, with an expense, it does give you an option here to add one. Okay, I'm going to leave my claimant information as myself here, but as I mentioned, if you have a new, or if you want to associate this expense with a new contact, you would need to create that contact first. Okay, we're also being given an option to choose the payment type here, the expense type. I'm going to leave it as payment, but you can also create an expense that's a refund. Category here, we're being given quite a few categories, so you can actually associate this expense with the specific with that specific category that expense is associated with. So I'm going to leave mine as accommodation and meals. Again, date, currency, automatically populated, but again, you can select the appropriate currency here. The total value of the expense is obviously important, so I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to type out, sorry, £100, and I'm going to leave my VAT info at autofill. Okay. So this is a perfect example of what happens when you don't necessarily follow instructions of what the software asks you to do. So you can, what we try to do is we try to avoid you making mistakes as best as we can. So if you do make a mistake, a red button will come up like this, and it'll tell you what it needs you to do. Okay, so I'm going to add some further information here, and I'm going to say demo charge. Okay, there you go. There's my expense that's just been created, and this is obviously, she gives me more information of how much of the value of the actual expense, etc., etc. Okay. You can also do the same for adding mileage. So for example, if you've traveled to do a job and obviously it's cost you a little bit of money there, you can go ahead and add your mileage in Freeagent. It's really the same process. The main thing really in Freeagent is ensuring that you're entering the right information, okay? But the great thing about it as well is if you do make a mistake, it does give you an option to edit that information, which is always good. And another fantastic thing about us, which I'll go into in further detail at the end of the demo, is the level of support that we have available for you here. So for example, if you've made a mistake and you cannot figure out how to resolve that, you can get in touch with our support team, and they'll be more than happy to look into that for you and to help you. Okay. Now I'm going to quickly go into the banking session before I round off and allow you guys to ask us questions. The banking bit really is one of the most important things in our software. At the moment, we do get direct bank feeds from RBS, NetWest, and Barclays. If you bank with any other bank that isn't those three, then we can still get those bank feeds via a third-party company called Yodlee. Okay, but really, it's to keep things nice and easy for you. If, however, you don't want to set up a bank feed with us, then you do get an option here of manually uploading a statement each time a bank statement is generated for you. Okay, again, this is the banking timeline, your business banking timeline that I demoed earlier on. It really shows you the amount of money available at different points in your business banking account. Okay. But if you can see on the top right hand corner here, it does give you an option to show either weekly balances or daily balances. As I mentioned, at the moment it's showing us monthly balances. Okay. So at the bottom here, it's the different bank accounts that have been set up. You can see, you can also say set up, a savings account, a PayPal account, just different types of accounts that you might have, and you can associate those with the software. The account with the little star here shows me that this is the primary account. And so what I want to do is I want to access that so that I can do my bank reconciliation. Okay, so this is explaining the different transactions in my bank statement. Okay, now if you focus on the right hand side of your screen, you see that there's information of when the last statement was uploaded. Here it's telling me my last statement was uploaded on the 24th of May. It also gives you your time, so it's very specific. It also shows you the percentage of the transactions that have been explained. So what happens is each time you explain a transaction, each time you reconcile a transaction, that percentage will change. Okay, at the bottom here, it's showing us the transactions that haven't been explained. So what I want to do is I actually want to go into the ones that haven't been explained, so I can show you how easy that is to do. Okay, so, or as I mentioned, you click on the little tick, which, it'll prompt you to do the same thing pretty much. Okay, so what we're being asked here to do is to associate this transaction with the appropriate category. So this is pretty much according to what that transaction is. At this moment in time, it's transferred to your account, so I'm going to associate it with what I deem fit. Once I've associated with that category, I'm going to explain transaction. I'm just going to do it right now. This probably isn't the best category to choose, but I'm going to do it right now just so I can show you what that does to your unexplained transactions. So I'm going to explain that. As you can see, the transaction has turned green to show that it's been explained. The percentage of the bank transactions that have been explained has increased, and the total unexplained have decreased. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a little bit and see if, just to make sure that everyone is able to, well, to speak first of all, and that everyone is still on. Just bear with me a moment.
Hi Ruth, Carissa, it's Mike Foster again. One of the questions we did get in advance was about allocating split transactions. So you've got one amount that you want to allocate across two different areas maybe on the bank feed. I wonder if you could demonstrate that for us.
Yes, we can do that. What I'll do is I will just pop onto my demo dashboard. Ruth, in the time being, could you undo that last bank upload for me, please?
Absolutely.
You see, Ruth's using my demo account today because it's in good order. So I should hopefully be able to share my screen with you. Yep, there we go. So you should be able to see my screen. So of course, it may be the case that your client or you have received a large payment for a number of invoices. So what I'll just do is I will pop into banking and I'll just upload that statement again. Okay, so what Ruth had done there, she had guessed explanations. I will take this off, so I'll show you various different explanations that you might come across. Of course, using that tool is fantastic, especially for bank feeds as well. It just gives you a lot less work to do, and the more you use it, the cleverer Freeagent becomes, and there should be very little to explain. Everything, of course, that we're explaining here can also be done on the mobile app as well. Actually, it's been very clever and explained them. It can be done via the mobile app. So, for instance, in this case here, we'll just remove some explanations. So you can actually remove them if you're not happy with where it's been explained to as well. So it's very flexible, this system. Okay, so all this can be done on the mobile app as well. So if you see here, we have got a transaction for £78. However, it is in payment of all 3 invoices. So if I click on here, you'll see it gives an option of invoice receipt. Of course, if it's going straight to sales, you can do that as well. And you can just start by typing in the invoice number if you wish. And you'll see, so that's £60 of this invoice, and explain. Now what it's done is the system's left the £18 still outstanding in order to explain that. So if I click on here again, you might not have the invoice numbers. You can even type in Emma's name if you know it's from Emma. Or alternatively, if you click on the little box here, you'll see all the invoices that are outstanding. Now, just so you know, the ones in red are the most outstanding invoices where these are not quite due yet. So let's just choose, so we've got a 772, so that's £6, explain that. And then if we explain this as well, you'll see it's actually thought it probably is invoice 775 for £12 and explain. So you can explain both invoices and bills in this way. Now, explaining an actual transaction, splitting it can be a little bit different if it's directly to a couple of categories. So if we have a look here, I've got the staples unexplained. So let's say I want £20 to go to office costs and the £6.98 to something else. What I need to do is if I click on a transaction, I need to now click more options. So it's a little bit different from what I've just showed you because we're not actually allocating it to an invoice. So down here, we want it to go to a payment, and this is where I need to manipulate the amount. So if I change that to £20, for instance, and I can leave it on auto VAT. The auto VAT is really clever as well. All transactions will default to that. What it does is the system will look at the category here that you choose, and if it's normally a VATable category, it'll allow your client or yourself to claim the VAT back. Don't worry if you're under flat rate scheme, you'll make sure that you don't claim VAT back on anything that you don't need to, or that you can't. If they're normally zero VAT, for instance, it'll make sure the VAT's left out. So let's just put £20 to office costs, and if we explain this transaction. Now what we'll see, similar to the last time, it's now left us with the £6.98. So if I wanted to split that again, I could then go into more options and manipulate the amount. But in this case, if I just want this to go straight to, let's say, printing, we can explain that. And that's how you explain transactions, well, split transactions. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, reconciling a payment received. Is that kind of what we've sort of done? If it means the, all right, oh, so that's fine. As you probably noticed, there's no reconciliation process within Freeagent, and it's because you're uploading the bank statements, so you're uploading actual transactions that have happened. You've got your bank feeds, again, these are real transactions that have happened, so there's no bank reconciliation that you might see in other systems. But what I would suggest is that you do check the balance here, that it does match your balance just now and again as you're doing your account.
Thanks. That's certainly one of the reasons why we advocate cloud software, because it's shortcutting some of the traditional options in terms of adding items, paying them off, and then doing the reconciliation. So
exactly,
in our experience, it's just once you establish the mindset of the change of doing that, it saves you so much time.
yeah.
One of the other things I'd like to see a little bit more of, if you could, between you, is CIS, because it's quite rare for CIS to be included free within a package, and I believe you've got it in Freeagent.
Certainly.
So I wouldn't mind seeing how you deal with that from a subcontractor and from a contractor perspective.
Perfect. Okay, so we have CIS for subcontractors. We don't support it for contractors. There is a workaround for that. So what I'll do just now is I'll show you the contractor side. So initially within your account, in the settings, you need to turn it on, because obviously not everyone needs the construction industry scheme. So if you click on here, and then you can choose whichever rate. Of course, this is my demo account. I literally have to have everything on it. So you can see here, so you can choose the CIS categories. Now what the client has to do is set up a project. And you'll see here, I've actually got one, I've called it CIS project. So they would just add a project as normal, and within this project, in the more options, we've got the IR35 as well that we cover if anyone needs to cover that as well. So once the CIS is set up, what will happen is Freeagent will automatically create income categories here, and you'll see we've got the CIS, so it will create your CIS categories for you, all the categories that you need. Now when you go in to create an invoice, what you do is you choose, so let's say Bailey's Construction, and you can link it to your project if you wish, and then within the project, as Ruth was mentioning, you can add expenses that haven't been paid and things, whether it's CIS or not. So down here, this is where you'll see a new option. We've got CIS category. So let's just say it's at 20%. So we'll choose that. Now you wouldn't see that unless you'd set up the CIS category initially. Now from here, we'll just create an invoice item line. Now I always like a simple life, as Ruth would admit there. You can also set up things like price lists and everything like that, which is quite handy. It'll default all the details and the price and everything, so you've got that option as well. But what I'll do is I will just put in, let's say, 100 hours. At £50 an hour. I think that was Ruth's going right there. And we've got the CIS income category there. So if we create and finish, you'll see it's £5,000 plus the VAT. However, it's actually already deducted our CIS part of it, you can see here. So what it will do is it will only look for £5,000 from the client rather than the £6,000, because it will post the CIS appropriately. So I can either mark it as sent or send it by email. If you have got a lot of people that do self-billing, or if you do self-billing yourself, you don't want to send out an email, you can easily mark this as sent. Now again, you can still do that within the mobile app. So at the moment, the CIS amount will sit in limbo until the invoice is actually paid. So if they just come in and pay it, this would be, I'm adding a manual payment for demo purposes, but if this had been a bank uploaded transaction or a bank feed, you would come in and it would, as I said, only £5,000. So you just mark that to the invoice receipt and create and finish. So that's invoice paid. It's taken into account the financial things that your clients don't have to worry about, the financial side of it, and the accountancy side has all been dealt for. So when you go to run the payroll, or if your accountant runs your payroll, you can see down here. So we'll just continue with our month 2 payroll, and you choose the date you want to pay the staff. You can edit pay slips and things. Now this can be submitted directly to HMRC, but I'll just, for demo purposes, mark this as filed. Now what we'll see here is, because we've done that, now we've got the CIS deduction suffered. Now the reason we don't have a balance in here is because the dates were the 31st of May. But what we'll do is, in the next pay run, it'll actually include the CIS deductions. But of course, as Ruth said earlier, Freeagent's pretty clever. If you're too keen to do something too early, it will also keep you informed of that. So that's your CIS. All through the payroll, it'll adjust that and it'll show the right amount to pay to HMRC each quarter or each month through that. Now the CIS contractors are a little bit different. So for contractors, you would need to just create the invoice as normal. So in the case of this, if we wouldn't be able to mark it as CIS, it would actually be looking for the 6,000. That's where it gets a bit more complicated, and I don't want today to be too complicated. What we can do is we can send yourself, James, some knowledge base articles in order to show how to do that. But the basis is you need to set up an additional bank account for the CIS deductions and transfer it that way. So I think if that's best for you, we can maybe cover that separately with the knowledge base article.
Okay, yep, thanks very much.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if any of our end users today have any further questions, because I'm kind of looking at the time and we're not too far away from 2:45. So if there are any further questions, maybe. What I will say, just in case we're, a couple of us that are thinking of questions to ask, in the interim, we do have, as I mentioned earlier, an incredible support team that is available to you as end users. Now, our support is UK based, so you don't have to worry about speaking to somebody else in a different country or anything like that. And it is available via live chat, via email, and via phone at no extra cost. Okay, so you don't have to worry about having to pay anything extra after you've received some help from us. Okay, we do also have a very extensive knowledge base that's available on our website. Most of the stuff that we've covered today is actually in our knowledge base. So we've tried to cover most things in there, but just in case you can't find what you're looking for in there, then obviously our support is available to help you with whatever question you might have. Okay. Mike, I'm not sure if you had anything that you wanted us to cover, or
it's one thing I was just thinking is that obviously you're not going to demo it, but perhaps you could talk about the features on your app, because I know that's one of the things that people are sort of getting more engaged with in terms of using apps for expenses, etc. The other thing I was thinking of just showing is just drilling down in reports. I know perhaps some business owners won't use too many of the reports in terms of things like profit and loss, but perhaps on the VAT return, just demonstrating how easy it is to drill down into the data.
Perfect. Quite good. So hold on, I'll just quit out of this. So it's kind of reports for for the end users. Certainly the overview screen is a really good plus. As you can see, it's really easy to understand. It's in layman's terms. So you'll be able to log in. You can see how well your business is doing from the start of your new year, and also how well your business has been doing since day one. Things like your corporation tax, for instance. So there's no hidden surprises at the end of the year. You can see that this is what your corporation tax is due currently for this year, what's made up, so you can budget for that. Things like dividends you've taken out of the business as well, you can do. So this is what I like to say for clients. It's like a balance sheet, but really in layman's terms and quite easy to look at. Behind here, again, a sort of similar reporting. We've got things, you know, your VAT returns and pay slips and things are due as well. So you've got everything there. Things like expenses and how well your bank account's doing, your invoices, etc. So with relation to the VAT, you can come in here, and this is your VAT returns. So if we have a little look here, oops, that will not happen every time. This is what happens when you have a demo account and consistently update things and change things. So we can see here we've got a VAT return styled on the historical VAT return. It's showing you everything. I'm not in this flat rate scheme, so it's standard and the dates and everything. But behind here you've got your full report, so you don't have to run anything. As soon as a transaction is saved within Freeagent, it will update the VAT return accordingly, whether you're on cash or invoice. So we support all of the VAT schemes too. Really easy to drill down. So if you wanted to see, for instance, there's all your invoices. Let's look, here's a taxi receipt. Click on here and I can see that. Now from here, it's not a very good picture of my hands, but hopefully that will be a real taxi receipt. But of course, if it's not, then that's a good way as an accountant, you'll be able to say to your client to upload a proper receipt. Now this would have been added on the mobile app, which I'll show you later. So all your VAT returns there, you can drill down, make any changes, and for the actual submission of the VAT, it's really simple. From here, you can file it online with HMRC. So that'd be either your own government gateway ID or password, or if it's your accountant that's doing it, you can use your agent ID and password. And once that's submitted, it'll lock this VAT return, meaning it will never change. So it's nice and safe. As you see here from a statement of account, I've got a list of them that have actually got padlocks, so I won't be able to change them. So there's no worry of that. But the good thing is, if maybe your accountant has submitted your VAT return, in this case, I'm just going to mark this as filed for demo purposes, but you can do that as well if you've submitted it out with Freeagent. This will not change, but if my client was to come along next week with a bunch of expenses they need to add for this quarter, you can add those, and what it'll do is it'll allow you to claim it back in your next VAT period as well, which is quite handy. So some other reports that we have, mainly for, I'll try to take my accountant hat off here, but things like you might want to see, you might want to view, for instance, dividend vouchers. So any dividends that are taken out of the business, it will create one of these for you. So all you need to do is just print that off. You can save it as PDF, print it, and have it signed. So it's all there for you. Other reports that you may want to see, especially if you're caught under IR35, we will create this report based on you allocating things through a project as IR35, which will also give you a potential deemed payment. Again, great for budgeting purposes. And an EC sales list, this just recently came out actually, maybe about 4 months ago. And I think I might have tested a transaction somewhere. So you can see here, so if you allocate any invoices as EC sales, it will produce an EC sales list, but you'll be able to export as a CSV and upload that to HMRC. You've got your aged debtors and creditors if you're interested. It's maybe more accountancy, but certainly one that you'll be interested in is customer sales. And again, this is quite a new report. So this is showing you everything. You can see, you can view it monthly or annually, and you're able to see how much money you've actually made. So who's your biggest client in effect, and these can be exported. Now, as you see from the reports, there's a lot of other reports, probably more for your accountant, but there are a good selection there. Okay, so any questions around that, or do you want me to move on to the mobile app?
That's good for me, thank you. Yeah, it'd be good to have a look at the app to finish off.
Perfect, right, so this is my phone, okay, and what I'll do is, so you can download it. I've got iPhone, but if you've got Android, it's fine. Just go into your Google Play or your Play Store and just type in Freeagent and you can download it. This comes free with the package, so there's no added and there's not crazy adverts or anything like that. which is always good to know. So you can see here in this sort of center there, I've got a free agent icon. So if I click on here, and we've got little Winston the cat, who has been named, not by me, but so we can see here now, you can pop in a password, set up a password, but I like an easy life, so I've got my Touch ID, and there we go. So this is the app. Now, when it was first launched, I think about a year ago, maybe longer actually, it was a bit more basic, but certainly we've added a lot more to it. There's the whole thing is, you know, there's so much you can do in the mobile app. You shouldn't have to feel that you have to keep logging into your Freeagent account on, you know, the actual main system. So down here we can see we've got our cash flow and our incomes. There's our operating profit there that I'd mentioned before. So you can see how your business is doing, just like that. And down at the bottom we have, so this is all our insights here, but we've got a little button, or a big button in the middle, and this is where you can add anything from an expense, mileage claim, right down to a time slip, and even you'll see you can add an invoice. Now you can add an invoice, an unusual app style, it's super simple, little buttons, but it will create a fully bona fide invoice as to what we've seen earlier. So what I'll do is, let's imagine I'm out and about and I'm really busy, and the last thing I want to do is come home late off a train to have to sit and put in my expenses, but I'm sitting on the train, bored, I don't have any iPlayer on my phone or anything, so ideal chance to pop in expenses. So I'll just click on here to add an expense. I can choose the date, so let's say it was the 2nd of May. I can also create expenses in multi-currency as well, and the accountants will be happy about. We deal with the currency gains and losses. You don't have to worry about that. So pop in the total amount. So this is a train ticket for £4.50. And again, we'll just leave it on auto VAT, but you can change that if you want to. So the category is travel. It realises the last category, but you can change it as you see here if you wish to, but we'll leave it on travel. I'll just do train home. Quite a cheap journey at £4.50. So down here, we also have a recurring option. That also is for invoices. So if I knew I was going to do this train journey every week for a certain period of time, you can do that and it'll create it automatically in the future. Now down here I've got add attachment. So if I've already taken a photo, I can use that, but let's just take a photo, a new photo, and to prove that this is really me, I'm really here, actually looks a bit crazy. If we click on here, take the photo, and we'll use that. So I'm just going to save this transaction. So imagine how easy this is when you're out on the go. As I say, you can add mileage and everything. So if I just pop to my overview screen, so we're back on here, you can see we have train home. Click on here, and that is how instantaneous this is. So that's what it's all about. It's not about, you know, being tied to a computer in the corner at weekends when you want to spend time with your family. It's actually being able to do things when you're out and about. You've got 5 minutes, put in your expenses, get them out of the way, and you're not walking about with a big pocket full of receipts, or I tend to try and shove receipts into my phone holder, which is never ideal. So even I'm into the habit of taking pictures as in when I'm on the go. So much easier. Now other things the app can do, so we've got our settings here, so you can even view your company details and everything like that. This is all quite new actually, and you can look at your VAT registration, so you can see what was your first registration. So say you're asked a question about that, you're out and about, just go into your phone. Things like the security, so I've got the enable touch ID, so you can set that up nice and easily. And also a good one to have is this here in the notifications. So enable the tax timeline notifications. What that'll do is when you log in, it'll pop up. And what these tax timeline notifications are, which you can view in your overview, are these here. So if you want to see when your VAT return is due, any pay slips, corporation tax, you can see that here. So when you log in, it will pop up and let you know. And it's all about not just real-time information, but it's about actually being fully aware of what's going on, being prepared, not having the hidden surprise. You know, you've got this VAT return coming up you completely forgot about, and it's just a fantastic tool just to avoid any fines and things like that if you do forget about things. It's keeping you fully updated with your Freeagent account, but whilst you're on the go. Even from here, if you do have a query, we've got the contact support. You can actually email them directly from here, which is great as well. But I don't need to contact support today, so we'll just delete that. And there we go. So it's all probably what you'd hopefully like to see in an app. Was there any questions around that, apart from we've got the banking?
Thank you, Carissa. That's great to show that, because I think that's, again, one of the beauties of the cloud accounting software that the integration has with the app. Just a question, just to clarify and complete the loop in terms of what yourself and Ruth were showing us earlier. So when it now comes to the bank feed and it comes in on the bank feed and you've got that £4.50, do you then explain it by allocating it to an expense category to then be able to pick up that £4.50 that's already been posted?
All right, what you do, so let's just try it on the app. I've got one unexplained bank transaction. So if you imagine as well, if you've got a bank feed set up, you're on a train, you can just explain these. So in this case, this is a money out transaction. Okay, so let's just say for this case, we've got, so we'd actually explain this as money paid to user. So we have this money paid to user, money received from user, and you choose a user. So let's just say we'll pay this to Ruth, and what we'd use is expense payment. Now that would all post that as an expense payment, and that would net off against the expenses that are in the system, which are found here. So we can see here. So if I pop onto Ruth, Ruth won't have any expenses, I don't think, but you can see here. So that will just net off against there.
So I don't know if there's any final questions other than that. Can't see any more in the chat. Give one last opportunity for people to ask questions. If not, we'll wrap it up from there, I think.